What's that honor mean?
Um, it's a phenomenal honor. I think it means so much because here I am in year 11 and I'm making my first Pro Bowl. And the only thing that I can feel is just grateful. I remember probably about 2 or 3 years ago where I really felt like I should have made it and I didn't. And a lot of people don't know, but I really cried. I don't cry often, but I cried. And I remember, sending a message to my wife and my mom, just really laying out all my emotions of why I was crying. And it had nothing to do with, not making it to the Pro Bowl, but it had everything to do with my faith and understanding that God takes me the long way around a lot in many different situations. When I think I should be arriving at a destination, it's taking longer than I want. And that's painful. That hurts. And I understand that he's molding and using that to make me push harder or learn a lesson or whatever the case may be. And so it's not that you don't trust his timing, but it's just taking longer than you would like. And so now to be 2, 3 years in the future, and I didn't know at the time that I would ever end up and actually be going to the Pro Bowl, but to be going now, and thinking back to that story, it's just like, things may not happen when you want them to, but they're gonna happen when they're supposed to, and you just got to be patient with that. And that's not always easy,
Yeah.
but I'm grateful.
How do you handle it, like when that perspective is challenged, like in that moment? Now that the road was there, but at the time, like how do you not let that kind of get you in a negative place of being?
Well, I just what I do when I go through adverse times like that, where I feel like I'm something that's supposed to be happening and it's not happening. I just remind myself of times before where things took longer than I felt like they should have. Um, I remember things like when I was in college and I made all conference, and then my coaches took me out of the starting lineup when I was one of two players that were all conference player, and I had to play backup the whole season. And that was very painful to be a competitor and playing backup the whole season. But at the end of the season, shockingly, I made first team all conference from a backup. And it was the first time in history where a player had did that. And I remember like seeing that on the front page and reading the article. And it wasn't like I was celebrating to myself. It was just like, wow, God, like you can make the impossible happen at any time. And it's finding a way to stay faithful through those hard times. And so that's what I do when I go through those adverse times. It's like, and that doesn't mean that it's always going to work out for good, but it's just trusting God and saying, okay, whatever happens, if it does happen or if it doesn't happen, God, I'm just going to trust you, and I'm going to keep doing what I'm supposed to do. And I know that if it does happen or it doesn't happen, it's because you allowed it to.
So those moments kind of made you who you are and who you're hungry.
Very much so. Very much so. I am the person that I am today because of my journey to get to where I am. And hopefully, if the Lord says the same in 5, 10 years, I'll be that person because of the journey that I still have in front of me.
Is it almost like delayed gratification amplified?
That's exactly what it is. Delayed gratification. And that's a good question. And so I'm gonna go there because you asked a great question. So we live in a time where everybody is looking for temporary satisfaction. Those are the choices, really: temporary satisfaction or delayed gratification. So I can choose what's in front of me because it's going to temporarily satisfy. So when things don't go my way, I can go look for things that soothe me. That's not ultimately what I wanted, but this makes me feel good, whether that's eating or a lot of other vices that we can go and choose. It gives me temporary satisfaction, but at the end of it, I'm still reminded of I don't have what it is that I want. Versus saying I'll take delayed gratification, meaning I don't have what I want right now, but I'm going to persevere through it, and hopefully at the end of it all, what I truly desire, I'll get. And that's what it means to stay faithful. It means I'm not going to choose the easy route right now for temporary satisfaction. I'm going to take the harder route, the road less traveled, so that I can get in the end what it is that I really want. And that's what it is in faith. Like, pursuing God doesn't mean that I'm going to get everything that I want. Doesn't mean like, you go to God, he's going to get, actually your road gets tougher when you go to God. but it's at the end of it all, I get the true promise, which is to be with him in eternity. That's delayed gratification versus saying, you know what, I'm just going to take what the world gives me right now and I'll push off God to later. That's temporary satisfaction. So that's really the two choices that we have. That's a great question. Appreciate you allowing me to preach.
What is it about Philly's offensive scheme that makes them successful, regardless of what quarterback's back there?
Man,
Quick skirt to football.
Philly is just what they do. They do very well, and that's present a lot of challenges in their run game, in their pass game. They're loaded with talent on the offensive line, in their backfield, with receivers, and then they got two very capable quarterbacks getting it done. Um, so, and then the man that's calling the shots is putting you in as many complex situations as he can, making everything look the same, and and making it look like he's going to run the same play he just ran, but then have a wrinkle or a double move off of it. So that just makes the game very challenging. So that there's no secret to why they've been so successful this season. And they're putting together on all fronts, not just on the offensive side, but in special teams and on the defensive side as well. So it's going to be very challenging for us. But we got a lot of great guys in this locker room, a lot of great players, and we're looking forward to that challenge.
You sending a message to Gardner this week?
No, man, but it's going to be another fun-filled atmosphere for sure.
How have you seen the defense change over the past couple of weeks coming out of the bye? It seems like you guys have been playing at a higher level.
It's coming together. It's coming together. We're executing in ways that we know that we have the ability to, and that's always good. You can know what it is that you want to do and know that what you can do, but it's all about what you can do on Sundays and when those games happen. And we've been doing it, and we got to continue to do it down the stretch.
Is it frustrating at all, just kind of the injuries that you guys have endured, and that like it is just kind of coming together now this late in the season to see what you can do, but like so many guys are getting out that it's been hard to have that momentum.
That's just part of the game.
Yeah.
That's part of the game. Everybody across the league is dealing with that.
When you guys have battled some inconsistency in your run defense that we haven't really seen a lot around here, what have you identified as things?
I think it just says a lot about when we were doing it very well, how hard it is. And you never can rest on that. You always got to chase. I mean, this is an extremely competitive league. It's always advancing. Teams are finding ways to put you in more complex situations, and making it very difficult on it. And so I think a lot of it is not just why we aren't doing why we weren't doing what we wanted to do as well as we've done it before. It's really tipping your hat to those offenses and finding ways to be successful, which they've done, and it's forced us to adjust. And that's one thing about this group. We want to always make those adjustments and keep coming.
You guys go into every game wanting to stop the run. Does this team have a little bit more, because of the last two matchups against Philadelphia that this one's circled at the calendar, as they say, or anything like that?
All of them are very important, and that's going to always be the number one in playing good defense and stopping the run. It opens up the rest of the game, and so for us to be successful, we got to do it, and we haven't done that the past couple of times we played them. So yeah, we got to find a way.